We're going to go over their numbers now for Week 17 in the National Football League. We do have another Thursday night game. It's the Jets at the Browns, the opener now, because how about this movement here? The Browns opened 6.5 on Sunday night. It hit 7, and now it's on the opposite side of that key number. Browns are sitting at 7.5, total of 36. Now, I know it's looked great. It's looked sexy. I joked Joe Flacco for MVP yesterday.
That's how we do this, right?
Right. Although what he has meant to the team, you can't ignore it at this point. You got to love the shot. Stefanski might do this and pull off Coach of the Year. So it's a great story right now. The Jets should have blown that game. They almost did against the Commanders. They were up big, let them come back into the game. Brissett looked good after the Howell debacle, went sideways yet again. Are the Browns laying too many now in this spot?
I'm about to look ahead in some spots. The week prior was 5.5 in favor of Cleveland. So this has gone a really long way. But I got to say, it's not like I'm really running to the window to grab it with the New York Jets. Like even Simeon in that game, PFF passing grade 41.6. This is my favorite stat from that game. An average depth of target for Simeon of 3.6 yards downfield. Like it was just there's I don't even know what's worse than like bottom of the barrel quarterback play, no matter who that the Jets are putting in there. And Cleveland's good enough. And you mentioned it. I love what Stefanski's doing. It's this high variance. We're just going to keep taking shots. We're going to maximize everything that we have. Because even if you go back to that pick that Flacco threw against the Texans, right? All right, throw a pick 40 yards downfield, because guess what? He's going to step out of bounds at the 18 and you're fine. It's like a punt. I think I'd rather be on Cleveland's side. I think for sure maybe you're looking at like a Jets team total under. I think there's a realistic shot where they're not doing anything here with any sense of offense, but I don't know why I would run to back the New York Jets after what I've been watching.
Now this is going to be a very popular teaser leg as well, because we do have some teaser options on the board this week that do make some sense. This one with a total of 36 would certainly fit into that criteria of the very popular Wong teasers. I've mentioned this several times now, the way that Flacco has unlocked David Njoku, scored another touchdown, and look at the playmaking now. Amari Cooper quietly here having another really good season, but it's been, they put up a stat on the broadcast of that game where Cooper has achieved like so many yards in his career. He's like one of like 4 guys to have games of like over 200, whatever it was, like some crazy number in the game receiving. He's one of like 4 guys in history to do it in a single game. And I think he did it with 3 teams now, Browns, Cowboys, and the Raiders. So he's a wide receiver 1. Well, clearly they're not number, but you know what I mean. Overall, Njoku very good. The ground game, I guess, is where you might have some issues here. And that was a very good Breece Hall game, especially for fantasy peeps. He's capable of doing that against a lot of people, but now you have this narrative again, JVT, where it's Browns defense at home compared to what it's been like on the road throughout the year.
Yep.
Saturday, there is one game. Detroit at Dallas, Cowboys, 6.5 this morning, and the opener was 5.5 on Sunday night. That total is 53.5 today.
I think it makes sense. Dallas is clearly much more comfortable at home. And they did a good job. They get that elongated drive. They end up losing because, again, I don't understand the concept of playing soft coverage on potential game-winning drives when the other team needs a field goal. But I think that on a fast track against a Tigers, I don't know why I went Tigers, against a Lions team that is perfectly capable of at least matching you in terms of pace and scoring, also on a friendly track, I think that this one would make sense to go over that number. The question is, do you believe in Dallas in the role of bully that they have played at home all year long? Because I kind of think so, but I also bet Dallas against Miami over the weekend.
Yep. And
thought that they were going to be able to pull that off against a defense that I view to be pretty average.
Yep, same here. I really want to be on Dallas again this week, but I don't know at that number if I can do it or not.
And I just think, like, realistically, I mean, I guess I get it. I just don't know why, like, a change going back to Dallas would really change you that much as a team.
I know.
Where you can win by these margins and absolutely blow teams out. Like, why aren't you capable of that away from home?
We saw it in the NBA last year with the Warriors.
Yep.
That was a thing that lasted for the entire year. And it was ugly. It never really got better. And it impacted them in the playoffs as well. Carolina's playing at Jacksonville. Carolina, they were game against a bad Green Bay defense. Well, guess what? Now it opened up 6 in this game. Jacksonville favored. It's now 6.5 total, 37.5. They're going to be getting another bad defense this week. And who's going to be playing quarterback for Jacksonville?
Right. I think I'm kind of so. One of the other plays that we had that I had was Carolina against Green Bay, and I kind of think that I'm on the point where near the end of the year, I think it's going to be kind of ride Carolina. Dare I say? I think we're at the bottom of the barrel for the power rating, right? And you can stumble into some covers because these numbers are so high. You saw some competitiveness against. I think it was a little bit more about the Packers' defense. We've seen how bad that can be. But I don't know. I think I'm going to be on the train of, like, especially if we're going to talk about floating around, if you get to that full 7. I think I might be on Carolina going forward.
That's the only side that I could have possibly taken this game. Look at Jacksonville's stretch right now. It's a 4-game losing streak. Again, it goes all the way. Everything ties into that Monday night loss they had against the Bengals at home, where they blew that game, couldn't stop Cincinnati. They lost 34-31 in overtime. They lost to the Browns on the road when they went for 2, down by 4. They gave up 31 points there. They never were really close against Baltimore last week. They lost that one 23-7 at home. And then whatever happened on Sunday where they couldn't get anything going. The offense was terrible. Lawrence had to get yanked out of the game to try to, see if they could save his leg and then just like maybe preserve his chances to play for the rest of the year because they need every game like blood now in order to win that division.
Hey, Carolina, like really quietly, depending on where you get like your EPA metrics, like floating around like top 11 against the pass by opponent EPA standards. Like they're pretty adequate on the back end. If you could just take advantage of another team defensively and stay inside of a number like this, I think you'd be pretty live to do it. You saw some fight. You saw some improvement, I think, from Bryce Young and others.
Yeah, if this game touches 7, I'm going to have to take it with Carolina.
Yep.
After last night, the Niners losing big time to the Ravens 33-19. They hit the road. They play out Washington. The opener and the current number, it's the same 13.5. Total is 48.5. Like, who's going to be the quarterback for Washington? That could change some things here because if it's Howell, odds are, well, the variance with that guy is so roller coastery that you don't know what's going to happen. But now it's back-to-back weeks where the Commanders dug themselves a deep hole, and then they eventually try to get out of it, and they did by pulling Howell and putting Brissett in. If Brissett starts, would you like 13.5? Is that the number if he gets to start?
I think I'd rather play it over. Like, could we see a similar situation like we saw with San Francisco and Arizona a couple of weeks ago, where you get better offensive play than you expect against San Francisco's defense, but San Francisco, especially coming off of the performance that they just had on Monday night, still puts up enough to get this number over the total because you can't stop San Francisco, and you're at least moving the ball up and down enough to do your part to push this thing over.
That might be the look.
Right? Especially if you're going to get Brissett out there. You looked adequate.
Against this Commanders defense?
Yes.
Now, I know it's a short week here. They got to fly across the country. You take that one game last night, and did it hurt Purdy's chances to win the MVP? Certainly it did. In fact, he may not win now. He's 12-1 to win it. Again, that might be a total overreaction, but it was awful. With the weapons they have on offense against this Commanders defense, the way that they've been trending now for pretty much the entire year, I mean, the Niners should score in the 30s here easily. And I think if it is Brissett, that's going to be the look then.
Yep. I mean, the Jets were like a one-man show, right? You mentioned Hall.
Yeah.
And the explosive plays that they were getting over the weekend against them, now this well-coordinated offense with all of this power at the skill positions, you're going to tell me that you're containing them? Don't think so.
Seems unlikely. Saints at Tampa Bay. Buccaneers opened 3 on Sunday night, 42.5, and that's where we sit right now.
Are we at the point where we're too high now? I mean, you look at Tampa Bay and what they've done. Like they've covered their last 3. They've covered 6 out of last 8.
Sure.
We're talking about like catching 2 at home versus Jacksonville, catching 4 at Green Bay, small underdog on the road against Atlanta, right? At San Francisco, catching 14 versus Tennessee. You're only a 2.5-point favorite. Like in all these games which they've covered and they've been on this run, we're talking about an underdog, and every single one of them is saved for 1. And now here you are with that key number at home against the division opponent.
Mm-hmm. They're trending in the right direction. I don't like the Saints team, but a full field goal now.
I like their defense.
The Saints defense.
Yes.
Yeah, it could be solid. And these two teams, it's a divisional game. These two teams know each other quite well. Yep. They play each other twice a year, obviously. Saints have to have the game like both teams do, obviously. But 3 here might be certainly if that would touch 3.5. I don't think it would last for very long. Also on Sunday we have the Rams. They open 6.5 at the Giants. Total is 42. Any interest if it's Tyrod Taylor? That number would get to 7.
Oh, absolutely.
Me too.
Yeah.
But I don't think that scenario would happen.
No, I think the market would be all over that. I don't think the market would let it get to 7.
Yeah.
Because he's too, again, like I'll use the term, he's an adequate quarterback. He's going to run your offense, not going to put the ball in danger. He can escape pressure. No, he's a really solid backer to put in that position.
Yeah. Could be a tricky spot here for the Rams.
Yep.
Atlanta's playing at Chicago. Bears 3, total is 39.
Man.
DJ Moore banged up.
He is. And Chicago flirted with blowing that game against Arizona. Didn't do it, but flirted with it.
Yeah, they did.
You know?
Yep.
And I don't think Taylor Heineke's an upgrade over Desmond Ridder, but they did get a win over a Colts team that looked like they were operating pretty strong.
Yeah, okay. And then really a marquee game that we have on Sunday. Miami's at Baltimore. Still this morning, if the Ravens looked really, really good last night, they're laying 3 against the Dolphins. Total is 47. And here's the potentially bad news for the Dolphins. Mike McDaniel said last night that Jalen Waddle, high ankle sprain, added. Those can be tricky. Obviously, that puts his availability for the rest of the regular season in doubt.
And this is such a well-schemed defense, Baltimore. Like, they scheme up their pass rush. Their coverage is awesome. If you're going to go into that with one hand tied behind your back and not have Waddle out there.
They have playmakers all over that side of the field.
Yep.
Yeah. For the contest that we have coming up this weekend in the NFL, for example, the Patriots are on the road against the Bills. And don't forget what happened the first time these two teams played when Buffalo scored late to take a lead. Under a minute to play, they allowed Mac Jones to go the distance, score a touchdown, and win the game outright. That was a high-scoring game. Now the Bills, after whatever that was in L.A. against the Chargers, over the weekend are laying 12 to the Patriots. Total's 41.
Yeah. Similar number to what they were laying against the Chargers, right?
Pretty much the exact same number.
Didn't win it, didn't cover, or they won it, didn't cover is what I meant. I don't know if the Bills are such an odd team in terms of the variance of results. I do think it is realistic. They could come in here and cover by margin, but I think one of the underrated things about the Patriots and what Bill Belichick has done is he's just kept this defense so solid, right? They're above average. They're well schemed. They keep themselves in a lot of games. It's why the season has been so frustrating because their offense has been so bad. The game against Denver Broncos is a perfect example of it. I don't think I'd be surprised if New England can stay inside of a number like this only because of how good their defense can potentially play against a division opponent.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's like this whole narrative now with the Bills.
MVP favorite?
Well, I can't. I mean, that's got to stop, by the way. He's had 25 completions his last 2 games. Josh Allen's not the MVP of the league. Come on. We can't just forget about what happened, the early part of the season. So, again, to be laying pretty much the same number on the road against the Chargers here. I get it. You're back at home. Patriots playing better football than what they were for that stretch before a couple of weeks back. It's zappy. I got to tell you, Zeke's playing good. Mm-hmm. He's playing well. I mean, playing good football overall.
I think if the Patriots don't cover this, it's because Zappy really starts to take a big step back, puts the ball in danger, gives up short fields, allows the Bills to get some pretty easy scores on the board that allows them to win by margin. Because I do have faith that defensively the Patriots are going to do enough to give them a chance to be in this game, whether it's from a point spread perspective or from an outright win perspective.
Now, when these two teams played last year in Buffalo, that was the week after the Damar Hamlin incident on Monday night against the Bengals. And that was not, the Bills won and covered that game. I think they were laying 7.5 in that spot. They also had 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns in that game to help win and cover. They were not that impressive. And it looked, that was now I get it, that spot was all time for what they went through with Hamlin on the Monday night spot. But 12 is a big number in my opinion. Tennessee's playing at, you had more in the game?
I was going to say really quickly, I do think we get to a point this year where you get teams like Buffalo where the market, we say this all the time, they got to win it. And sometimes it gets a little too factored into some of these numbers. Like, just because you have to win doesn't mean you have to cover. You see that, I think, some of these times with some of these numbers getting a little inflated.
Good job bringing that up. Tennessee plays at Houston. Now, the Texans are laying 3.5. Total is 42.5. Do we know? Are we positive C.J. Stroud's going to play in this game?
You called. Now you can't. Now you have no idea whether or not it's going to happen. And I don't know. I don't think you can realistically come in here and bet this without 100% confirmation that he's going to be out there. And at the very least, you're again talking about a divisional game where it's going to be pretty tight. And Tennessee, at least as we saw, I think it was a little bit more about the situation than anything else, but still can fight against some teams that are floating around in this area of a power rating standpoint. I don't think I feel comfortable laying over a key number without any confirmation at the very least that Stroud's out there.
Neither do I. Couldn't do it. Nope. The Raiders, after yesterday's impressive defensive performance, nothing on offense.
Yep.
Again, he did not complete a pass after the first quarter. 0 yards passing beyond the 62 he had in the opening stance. I mean, that's Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams in fantasy. Hello. That was a fun one. I had him in only 2 leagues.
You imagine if I told you beforehand, the Raiders are going to win this game in Kansas City. You're thinking, dude, got to blow up, right? You got to score. You got to get this thing done. 62 passing yards.
62 passing yards and no offensive touchdowns, and you were up comfortably, by the way, for a lot of that game. And now you're catching 3 going on the road against the Colts. And what you just brought up, though, JVT, I'll throw it right back at you. Colts have to have the game.
Yep.
Need it.
Jonathan Taylor's coming back. Yep. Lay an egg. Here's the underrated part about this game, I think. Gardner Minshew has not played particularly well this year.
Yeah.
Part of the issue is he holds onto the ball too long. He has been under pressure on over 35% of his dropbacks this year. And part of that is offensive line play. Part of that is him. If you're going to invite Max Crosby to pressure you as a quarterback, that is going to be a nightmare for you. So I don't think that really bodes well here for Indianapolis. I think if they win and they cover, you're talking about a strong game on the ground for this team. But you better watch out because that's a matchup that the Raiders can totally exploit here.
First of all, somehow Max Crosby is still underrated to this day.
Yep.
He's one of the best defensive players in the entire league. He deserves more credit than what he gets. And that team up front just completely pounded the Chiefs' offensive line yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very good point that you brought up. Arizona. Now, this number was 12 yesterday. Arizona had Philadelphia. Now all the way down below the key number of 10. Eagles laying 9.5. Totals 47.5. Is that too big of a reverse movement here? Coming back on the favorite, below 10 now, and is that total too short?
I mean, I gravitated to the total immediately. Again, similar to what I think you could see Arizona and San Francisco, right? Where you're talking about Philly comes in. I think we're probably getting to the point where we're getting a little too short on the number, but Philly is able to back at home. Because I even think yesterday, too, look, they built a pretty strong lead against New York, kind of let the foot off the gas and allowed the Giants to come back in. I didn't think there were any real true danger of losing the game against the Giants, but still, I think this is one where you're talking about a game where we're looking at 35-21? Would that be an unrealistic scenario here?
No, that can happen for sure. As long as they keep Murray in the game, and if they get down, they're gonna keep chugging along on offense. He's gonna try to make plays, and that's not gonna go away. Now, the Seahawks, I don't know how they won that game against Tennessee on Sunday. I was all over the Titans every which way but loose in that game. And one of them got me because it was only 2.5 in the contest out here.
Oh, yeah.
So that one really stuck a dagger in me. Now they're going to go back home. They're laying 3.5 to Pittsburgh. Now, I don't want to get nuts here with what Pittsburgh looked like against the Bengals. But is this number a little bit too high here? Tomlin in the dog roll, which, come on, we bring it up every time it happens.
Yep.
Here's another good example.
He's been brilliant at it. I mean, I guess the red flag would be the Steelers. Jake Browning in 2 starts against the Steelers has been absolutely terrible. And maybe that's just the connector, right? That Browning, whatever, something about this matchup, Browning has really a lot of trouble with what the Steelers put forward. And that going forward, this is still going to be like a Steelers team that was the one that lost to Indianapolis on that Saturday game. And so then you go in here and Seattle's able to do it. But I'm with you. I don't think Seattle is marginally better than Pittsburgh. I don't think a lot of these teams are kind of in that nexus of where these teams are much better. So that, again, asking that team win by margin over a key number, 3.5, I don't know if I'm running to lay that.
No, I think I would look at the Steelers there. Do you want to lay 7.5 with the Chiefs at home against the Bengals?
Bounce back.
Or do you want to tease them down?
I think they're a prime teaser candidate. Absolutely. I think that's going to be the case. I do wonder, this could be it. By EPA standards, Bengals 4th worst in the National Football League. If there is something where the variance kind of bounces back here and you get good protection and all of a sudden Travis Kelce comes to life, it would be a game like this, back at home against Cincinnati.
What a season for the Broncos. Now they're laying 5.5. This was 6.5. Total 38.5 at home against the Chargers.
And it might be simplistic, but, similar to number what you laid against New England, I don't know if you trust Denver. I was really surprised to watch the market turn on them as hard as they did in that game in Detroit and then come back and push this thing up to near 7.5. Right. against New England. I don't know if the Denver Broncos are a team that you asked to win by margin against many teams.
Yep. And then the Sunday night game that we have on New Year's Eve, Packers playing at Minnesota. Would you like to tease Green Bay up to like 7.5 or 8, depending on the book? DraftKings has Minnesota minus 1.5.
I think so.
Addison could miss this week. Hawkinson not looking good. I read last night Vikings bracing for the worst with T.J. Hawkinson.
Nick Mullins, turnover machine.
And, oh, by the way, throwing the ball a ton with Justin Jefferson back. But now they went to Green Bay. That was with Kirk Cousins, and that was never a game. Vikings took him out easily. Now you're looking at Mullins here and this defense. Yep. So it's going to be a lot of blitzing and a lot of heat brought upon Jordan Love. At what point do some of these Packers players come back and actually play? Is this going to be the week?
Yeah.
They got away with it without him this past week. They won the game. They didn't cover, but they won the game at Carolina.
By the way, I don't want to take a win away from your Packers. We need tenths of a second on the clock. I don't know if the Panthers would have gotten it off, but still, you need tenths of a second.